So at this time, when the world economy is under a lot of attack, where you are seeing in some sense the most important country in the world pulling back from the global order, the most important task for the G20 is maintaining strong multilateralism. And the T20, by in some sense of thinkers and think tanks coming together, behind that is a very positive force at this point in time.
I think there are three issues which the G20 should not just act upon, but should focus upon at the expense of other things. The first and most important, of course, is the finance track, inclusive growth, macroeconomic stability, and within that, my own area, which is tax policy coordination between member states. Because the G20 fundamentally was set up to do the core business of the finance track. And if it starts getting distracted from that core business, then I think it would be very unfortunate. Peace and security are important and have their place, but I do not think that the G20 is the place to focus on these.
For me, it's issues around going beyond conventional development models, beyond this idea of growth, this obsession about growth in economics, in development. I think for me, that's really the issue that's fascinating me quite a lot, the issue that I want to be contributing to, but also posing questions on that, because coming from South Africa, where obviously we are, not just in South Africa, but the continent is experimenting with different development models.
You see it in all of the headlines. I believe the backlash against globalization is telling us what people are feeling and how people are feeling about the growth path that we have been following, that is not delivering for people. So the main issue that we should be tackling is how to get a people-centered growth economy, global economy. And for that, of course, you need to take a hard look at the inequalities of income and opportunities to ensure that those that have been left behind really benefit from growth and from progress. And you need to make sure that this growth progress is not going to be impacting in future generations, and also to include the question of climate.
I think that it's first and foremost to create inclusive growth in a world increasingly marked by growing socioeconomic inequalities in times of great political and economic uncertainty.
Yeah, I mean, we saw in Italy the G7 summit, which was actually a G6+1 summit, that the climate issue is high on the agenda for many countries, but some are blockading it. And I hope that the G20 summit in this regard will deliver. If we would make clear that at least 2/3 of the G20 countries, 15, 16, 17 countries, support strongly the Paris Agreement and the 2030 agenda, this would be a very, very important success.
I contributed in this a policy brief which we brought out in terms of the key issues which are in agriculture, in terms of the slump in commodity prices, the challenges in productivity, food security related challenges, the stuck negotiations in WTO at the multilateral platforms, and the new technologies which should be introduced, particularly in light of climate change. So what kind of cropping pattern we bring in, what new technologies you require, which are water saving, drought resistant varieties. So these are some of the major issues which I think G20 Summit would be addressing.
First of all, the G20 should promote an open and hopefully fair and inclusive global trading system. Secondly, the G20 should promote both the implementation of the Paris Agreement and of the 2030 agenda, and should try to promote the synergies between these two big agendas.
For my personal observations, I think how to achieve sustainable development should be the very urgent or very important issues for the G20. But as we know that sustainable development is a very comprehensive, issues. It includes the equality, market access, and also the free trade, and also the climate change, how to deal with it. It's a very comprehensive topic. So for the G20 is, I think, the very good platform for the global coordination and do some collective actions. I think this is a very important, platform for the global economic governance, typically in the sustainable development issues.